Have this Scimitar in. It's in for a bit of a checkup, nothing too serious. There's a few small things to fix on it, like there's a blow in the exhaust, there's gas struts on the rear boot lid have to be replaced. Small things like that, nothing too serious, more of a checkup than anything. I lifted it up just to have a look at the exhaust to see if there are any clear signs of where the blow is going to be. But the first thing I noticed when I lifted it up is it has double wishbone suspension and anti-roll bars and coilovers, adjustable coilovers as well. Wasn't really expecting that. It's pretty good condition underneath here. There's an oil leak which is blowing sort of backwards down the car, but everything else looks really good. There's only really the steel chassis rails in this that's steel. Everything else is fiberglass. The whole shell is just fiberglass sitting on these steel chassis rails. So there's not really much to rust in them. The manifold's coming down from the engine and joining here to the rest of the exhaust. I can't really see the manifold if there's any blow or leak on the manifold because it's all heat wrapped. But I was having a quick look here, and just here there's like a swivel joint just here, and that's fairly loose there, so definitely say there's a blow there. And then if I turn around, same on this side, you can actually see it's a little bit black there, but that's really loose there. So there's only one hanger on the whole exhaust, which is further back, so I might be better off putting a flexi in there. Also, just noticed on the back box it's cracked the whole way around here, just where it goes onto the back box. It's obviously leaking a little bit because it's a bit black. Other than the blow and the exhaust, everything looks really good in here, yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the exhausts off from the engine, split the exhaust completely, and try seal up the manifold first onto the engine block, and then deal with the flexi joint in the middle. And when it's off, I'll have to weld up the back boxes and try maybe get a few more mounts. I think a flexi down lower and a few more mounts, and that might stop it from blowing in the future. You can see where the blow was in the manifold, just here. It's blown out to the front and here as well. Just put new gaskets on, hopefully that'll fix that problem. It wasn't very tight either, so probably new gaskets and get them a bit tighter. I have the exhaust off the car. All the junctions on the exhaust were all blown slightly, so I took them off, cleaned them and sealed them back up. They were a little bit loose, so I think that was just a problem. I have this all welded around there now, so I think the next thing I'll do is I'll weld new flexis on the manifolds. I have the manifolds finished and the exhaust gaskets are after arriving for the manifolds now, so I'll put these on, get everything sealed up and check for blows. Hopefully that's the exhaust done. I think next what I'm going to do is make up an exhaust hanger here. So these two bolts are on the bottom of the gearbox. I'm going to make up a bracket off the bottom of them and bring a bar out and hang this off up here. This bolt on this side doesn't seem to want to start properly. I have to look into it. I think the threads are damaged, so I'm just going to re-tap it. Of course, it's a funny thread. It's 3/8 U and F. They're all powder coated. So there's now an extra mount on both sides of the exhaust now, so it's not just hanging out of the back box. Another thing I have to do is replace the gas struts on the boot door. That hinge isn't on right. That hinge isn't on at all actually. This hinge is, there's only one bolt holding it on, one little tiny screw in there. The other hinge on the other side is fine. I can't really get the screw back up into it. I don't know if the threads are damaging the window as well, and it looks like I'm missing two screws anyway. I think what I'll do is I'll take the glass window completely out and replace it and try fix this the best I can back onto the glass window and then put the whole thing back in again. So these holes are just tapped into this brass frame around the glass. I'd say possibly these might be damaged threads. Yeah, well that just pushed in there, so that one's not great anyway. Yeah, that's spinning as well. Possibly just put a slightly bigger bolt in there and re-thread it, rather than re-drilling and threading beside it. So I have these bolts here. These are M5. The original one is M4. So I'm just going to re-drill these two holes out to M5 and re-tap the little brass trim in M5 and then bond it onto it as well. Just put a bit of Tech 7 on that, small little bit. I'll screw this back on and leave it to dry. Another job I have to do is the rear seat on the driver's side isn't bolted in properly. The passenger side one's in. So I've just one more bracket to put in the back. I have a box of brackets that came with the car. So I have to figure out which one I'm actually meant to be using here. I'm not too sure. Before I finish putting the seat brackets in, this is the seat bracket, the bolt for the seat brackets on the rear driver's side. And there's these spreader plates go here somewhere. So I'm going to take these off and see which plate goes where and fit these back on the car. I had to cut this down a little bit, it wouldn't fit in here. Okay. Good. The customer wanted to know how the car was running, so I decided to bring it down to APS performance and give it a run in the dyno, just to make sure everything was okay. And it was. The car made good power, and the air fuel ratio, that's the purple line, looks really good the whole way across.